Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brittany, and I'm with Raising Special Kids, and I'm very excited to kick off this Friday Here with Families, Here for Families Facebook Live series. We have a very special guest, and I know many families in our community are excited and interested in listening in to our leadership from DDD. But just give me a moment, I'll introduce her in a few minutes. But I just want to welcome everyone again. This is our Here with Families, Here for Families, Raising Special Kids Facebook Live series. My name is Brittany Miller, and I'm on the family support team, and I've had the wonderful privilege of being able to host this weekly, and I've really enjoyed connecting with our community and bringing on guests and helping us all feel connected during this time of COVID-19. So welcome. Again, we have a very special guest today, and I'm going to introduce her in a few minutes, but first, let's do an update for Raising Special Kids and what we've been up to. As you can imagine, our phones have been ringing quite a bit, and our family support team has been busy supporting families with special education, with navigating this new guidance we're going to talk about today with DDD and the services they're now going to provide us during remote learning to help us. We've been taking calls on guardianship. We've helped parents find support groups and resources. We are here for families, and if you have a need or you have a question, or you need to talk about your individual concerns with your child, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. We'll put our website and our contact information in the Facebook comments, and just know that we're here for you, especially right now during all this time and change and getting back to school with our kids and feeling that added pressure. We understand many of us at Raising Special Kids are touched by disability, and we are raising children with disabilities too. So we are utilizing these programs ourselves and trying to make it all work. So we're thinking of our community. So again, thank you. I'm happy to be here this Friday. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Leah Gibbs, and she is from the Department of Developmental Disabilities. So I'm going to read a little bit from her bio because she has extensive experience in serving Arizona families, and I don't want to leave anything out. Leah Gibbs currently serves as the Office of Individual and Family Affairs Administrator for the Department of Economic Security, Division of Developmental Disabilities, and has 28 years of experience serving families in our state. Leah's position is responsible for the Customer Service Center, Community Engagement, Affordable Housing, Tribal Liaison, Department of Child Safety Liaison, Independent Oversight Committees, formerly known as the Human Rights Committees, Adult and Child Behavioral Health Advocates, Statewide Benefits Coordination, Justice, Reach-in Care, and Communications. So Leah is very busy and very involved in many of the programs that benefit our loved ones with disabilities in Arizona. Prior to her work in the Office of Individual and Family Affairs, Leah has served in several positions within DDD, including Community Outreach Manager, Director of Residential Services, Contract Administrator, Resource Manager, Therapy Unit Supervisor, Residential Coordinator, Trainer, and she was a support coordinator. She has provided consultation work for the Department of Behavioral Health Services and the Office for Children with Special Health Care Needs, and has been a volunteer member of the Division's Program Review Committee, the Human Rights Committee, and the Families Actively Communicating Together Chair, Family Support Committee, Person-Centered Planning Facilitator, Rural Development, and Rural Review Committees. So if you haven't figured it out by now, we have a very special guest today who has extensive experience and is here for us as parents raising children with disabilities. And Leah also shares that her greatest honor is being the mother and legal guardian of her 33-year-old son, Michael, who has taught her more than can be imagined about life. So thank you so much, Leah. We're so happy and grateful that you're here to talk with us today.
Thank you very much, Brittany. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome. So I'm going to get to it because we have many families listening in. They're interested. They want to hear some of the questions and guidance surrounding remote learning. And for those listening in, just so you know, I've been collecting questions from our community. Our family support team has shared feedback that we've been hearing from you all about this new guidance and the questions you have. And I've given Leah some of these questions so she can help us tackle the answers and get that information out to our families that have DDD services. Just so you're aware too, for parents listening in, I am watching the chat and I will be checking and seeing if there are questions. We may not get to every question, quite honestly, but we will try to address what we can. If you have individual concerns, please call Raising Special Kids. We can help you. Also, you can call DDD's Customer Service Center, and we'll put that information in the comments as well to get help with your individual needs. But let's kick things off. So Leah, I'm gonna start with our first question that we have been hearing from families. First, I just wanna say thank you. As a parent raising a child with disabilities that utilizes DDD and long-term care services, I personally am very grateful for the changes and the quick action DDD has taken to try to help us parents as we're navigating school and work and life during this pandemic. So I wanted to just tell you thank you very much to start things off. So the first question I have for you is, many families feel a sense of relief knowing they can have supervision and help during their child's school hours. Can you please define which DDD services are eligible for parents to use during this learning time?
Sure. We've been able to get the authority to offer two different types of services. One would be attendant care, and the majority of our members who will qualify for this service, that may be the one that would be assessed. And the other would be nursing. Some of our members have skilled needs, and they may need this support through a nurse, and that could be done through a nursing visit or what we call intermittent nursing or continuous nursing, depending on the assessment.
Okay, great. So what do I do if I think my child might qualify for attendant care or nursing services?
What I encourage you to do right now would be to reach out to your support coordinator, let them know that you would like to have an assessment done.
Okay. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that assessment? Especially, we've had a lot of families ask about the attendant care piece. So what type of assessment questions may be asked when determining if a child receives attendant care hours during the remote learning time?
You bet. There'll be different components to that assessment process.
Okay.
The support coordinator is going to be working with the family, and what we need to do is we need to define what the school day is for that member. We recognize that we have very untraditional school hours happening right now. And so in the ISP, our planning document, there's a form that we fill out for our members that outlines their daily schedule. And in that daily schedule, we want to document the time that the member is in school and when they are not in school. And when we talk about that time, we want to get that information from a variety of sources. Many school districts have posted onto their websites what they have as their learning plans, and they outline when there would be what's called synchronous learning, when learning is occurring when the teacher is virtually online with the student, and what is called asynchronous learning time, when the student is doing assignments and work that they turn back into their teacher, but the teacher may not be directly online. And we know that those times are probably not going to be consecutive. So we would document when there is learning time, when there is the asynchronous learning assignment time into the daily schedule. We will ask potentially for a copy of the current IEP or 504 plan. The document is going to help inform the support coordinator to identify what is the support need specifically that this member has to receive in order to be successful while they're learning remotely. That could include things like the student struggles with the use of technology, or it might even tie to the fact that they may need supervision for their own safety, or the member may need consistent redirection in order to stay focused to attend to this learning time. The member might need physical support because physically they cannot use that technology on their own. The member might have some behavioral challenges that need to be redirected in order to stay involved in the remote learning. And there could be other similar needs, but everybody, as we know, is unique and different. Our support coordinators are asked to identify the daily schedule, identify what specifically the need is of the member to know how we need to support them. And then they're going to need to be talking with the parent or the primary caregiver who is responsible for that member to find out from them why they may not be available to help with that remote learning. If a parent is, for example, working from home and that remote learning time occurs during their work time, that would certainly be a reason why they need support for the member for remote learning. If the parent is out of the home working, it would be a very similar situation. The majority of the time, though, that we have to know what it is that's the barrier from that parent to provide that remote learning support. And then with those 3 different areas discussed, then the support coordinator would be able to identify what would be the appropriate service and what units or hours that member might need to be successful.
Thank you so much.
Brittany? Do you think that covered it?
Yes, and I'm glad you broke it down about the unique learning times.
Yes.
Because many of our families have been asking us here at Raising Special Kids, normally my child in regular time would be going to school from 8 to 3, but now they're remote learning and it's 8 to 10 with a 2-hour break and then they come back.
Right.
So I think what I'm hearing is we really need to communicate with our child support coordinators and have them document their schedule, document their learning time, let them know the need, and then together they can figure out the appropriate amount of support for remote learning. Is that?
That is exactly right. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
And we do have a couple questions that are relevant. Thank you for those that are commenting already. Let's see here. This is a one we've been hearing, so I want to make sure we address it. So,
Sure.
Leah, if a child receives a one-on-one aid, it's on their IEP, it's a service they're getting right now, but they're remote learning, so the aid is virtual. That's how they're providing that support.
Mm-hmm.
Can they still receive attendant care support during remote learning because the child would need help staying on task, even though they have a virtual one-on-one?
Right. That would go right back to the assessment process. Having that virtual one-on-one would not prevent us from being able to authorize the service. But again, we need to have those times. We need to know what support, and we need to know why the parent or primary caregiver can't provide it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We have another good one. Jill asked, can you explain if synchronous or asynchronous are both covered with attendant care, or just when there is not direct teaching happening?
Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah.
So again, based on the assessment, if what we find is the primary caregiver is not available and the student needs support, this remote learning schedule can support both asynchronous time and synchronous time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That. Okay, I'm going to move on. I see a couple pop up, but I think we may answer them. So let's keep moving.
Sure.
Okay, so say that, my child is approved for this service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can families find vendors or providers who can provide this service to their children in their home?
Sure. So what the division is going to do is follow what we call our normal vendor call process. However, the family may already know someone. They may have a respite provider that could be certified to be providing attendant care. They may have a relationship out there, or they may have a relationship with a specific vendor agency. And if those occur, they might help expedite getting that provider in place. If they don't, then we would be doing a vendor call, which is an electronic correspondence that goes out to all of our qualified vendors describing the service need, and they would respond back based on their ability to fill that need.
Okay, great. And if families are having a hard time finding a provider to fill that service for their child, is there anything, customer service might be able to help with?
Sure. We want to always encourage to start with the support coordinator and make sure that those vendor calls have gone out. And if they continue to not have response and the family is feeling a great frustration, they're welcome to contact us at customer service. We can't always find a vendor, but we can absolutely ensure that our process is moving along to identify a provider.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question that we've heard in the last couple of days is, why not habilitation hours? And then can they be used to support remote learning?
I really appreciate your asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
There is a code of federal regulation that outlines the use of home and community-based services through the different waiver programs from the federal government. And that requirement specifically prohibits the use of habilitation time during what they call special education or related services time. So it's not an option for us to consider habilitation for this purpose.
And thank you for being transparent, because that's something I learned. I didn't realize that this was a federal mandate. It's not just a DDD mandate. So it's important for our families to know that you guys have guidelines that you're bound to follow, and there was reason behind this decision making. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move along. I have another good one. So if a parent is their child's temporary direct care worker, can they bill hours during the school day to support with remote learning?
I'm sorry, but no, we are not permitted to allow a parent or primary caregiver to be the paid provider during the remote learning time. However, as we mentioned before, there's unique schedules supporting our members at this time. The support coordinator would not be able to offer service during remote learning, but they could assess the members' needs outside of that remote learning time. And if there are medically necessary services identified during our temporary allowance from the federal government, the family member or parent could be the paid provider for that time.
Okay, and just to clarify, I know you had talked about, and I was looking at the document that you guys just shared that we're going to post in the comments. It talks about remote learning and the policies for DDD.
Mm-hmm.
There were different terms, right? Different codes, that the attendant care during remote learning, what that's called, and then the attendant care outside of just the medically necessary attendant care.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And then with that question, can families ask, if they already are an existing temporary parent caregiver right now using attendant care, can they ask for extra hours for remote learning attendant care and have a provider come in and help?
So those were two different questions, and I'll back up, okay?
Yeah.
The service codes, what we are trying to do is, as you know, it is certainly not something the division has been able to do in the past, to offer home and community-based services during school time at all. And so this is part of our exceptions that we've been able to grant from Access and through CMS. And we are working with Access behind the scenes around the billing process for this. We need to account for the dollars, the Medicaid money that we are using for remote learning that we would not be traditionally offering through the division. And so we've come up with a temporary process that we're doing an internal accounting of, that's what you just described. If the family could be the paid provider for their child outside of the remote learning time with attendant care. And the answer is yes, if there is an assessed need and we know the parent is not available for during the remote learning time, an outside provider could potentially come in for that attendant care time. Okay. And right now, for our qualified vendors, they bill them both the same way. Behind the scenes, we're working with Access about different codes to be billed for the same remote learning service. It'll be the same rate, it would encounter the same way, but it would be a better, more electronic way to track the use of the remote learning hours. The guidance that we put out with those new code names on them, for example, ATC is attendant care, and we put ALE for the remote learning. Those codes right now, we're putting out guidance to our provider community to please hold off just a little bit before making changes to the systems, because Access is still evaluating some of the ways they need to track this information as well. But that's why the service code changes, is as this continues, we want a more electronic system to track what's the remote learning hours and what are the medically necessary hours outside of the school time.
Okay, thank you. And would you mind just defining for our listeners, we talked about we have to work with Access and CMS. What does CMS stand for those who might not know?
Thank you. I appreciate your asking. On a federal level, it's called the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And here in the state of Arizona, our Access Administration is our Medicaid authority in the state.
Right.
And they are the ones who negotiate and do the waiver agreement with the federal government on how the program operates. And then the component for long-term care for the Division of Developmental Disabilities is for our members. and there's a component for long-term care for the elderly and physically disabled population, and that is run through a different area of the state than the Division of Developmental Disabilities.
Thank you for defining that, because I know, we're used to the acronyms. When you work in the field, it's like
You're right.
soup. Many parents listening in are savvy with those special education acronyms, but there's so many. So thank you for clarifying that for our listeners.
I'm grateful you asked, and I'll try to be careful about acronyms. So thank you.
And sometimes I don't know, so I have to ask too. On here, there was another question. I'm going to backtrack and find it really quickly. Okay, so we know you've shared with us that it's attendant care and nursing that are available supports. Someone had asked if respite can be used, which I'm assuming the answer is no.
The answer to that would be no for remote learning. Families can certainly use their respite time outside of that remote learning, and it could be billable.
Okay. And then Claudia, I know you're asking about habilitation. It's a support through DDD. Leah, do you mind just defining what that means, since she's asking right now?
Sure, I'm happy to. Habilitation is a service that's designed to teach the member new skills. And so part of the Code of Federal Regulation that says we can't use habilitation during school time is because the school is responsible for teaching that child new skills during school time. But for the division, habilitation is a service to teach a member new skills, and it would be based on the goals that are established for that member through that planning process. And what are we trying to teach, and how often we teach it, and we determine then support around habilitation is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Then, one more question, and then we'll move on with our list that we have.
Sure.
A parent commented, we have been told by our support coordinator, if we want attendant care for remote learning, we can't have habilitation. Is it one or the other, or can families, if it's medically necessary, have both?
For the remote learning time, we are limited to that attendant care.
Okay.
There is not any prohibition that we would not authorize habilitation based on the goals of the member outside of the remote learning time.
Okay.
With the support coordinators do take into consideration what that member schedule looks like, and is there time, but there is not a prohibition saying you can't do both.
Thank you. So let's shift our focus a little bit. So for parents who work from home, I'm that parent as well, where all of us at Raising Special Kids are telecommuting, but we're still trying to support our kids, like many of our parents listening in. What documentation do parents who work from home need to provide their support coordinator to show the need for remote learning support?
Yeah, please know that we are not requiring documentation that you're working from home, but it's going to be part of that assessment discussion. When we identify the school day, we identify the needs of the member, and then we have to document why the parent or primary caregiver is unavailable. And absolutely, the fact that you are trying to work from home and you have a schedule for your own employer and you're unavailable is enough for us to document that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So with this new guidance, it's on your website. So I'm going to have us post it in the comments, but where exactly can families find the most current information about DDD programs in COVID-19?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you our web address because I think it's helpful to know how to get straight to the DDD website.
Great.
And if you put in des.az.gov, and do a /DDD, that will take you to the division's homepage of our website.
Okay.
On that homepage, on the right side, as you scroll down, there's a header that says news and announcements. And the first bullet right under that header is the guidance document that we are sharing regarding remote learning. And that is helpful for that purpose. Now, on that same homepage, on the top right, there's blue letters that takes you to the link that says the COVID-19 DDD actions related to COVID-19. You click on those letters, it will take you to that COVID-19 web page. That page has a lot of really valuable information on it. There's a amazing video that the state of Oregon did that is really designed for our members to help them better understand the pandemic and what is COVID-19. There are resources for the general public. There are specific resources for our qualified vendor community. So there's a header that says resources for the qualified vendors. The second bullet under that is the exact same guidance document as the one that's on the first page for our members and families. In addition to that, we've outlined on that page every service delivery change that we've been able to implement in order to support services for our members through the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's information about home delivered meals, what are the qualifications for a parent to be a paid provider. There's information around when we were able to extend the limit of respite hours from 600 hours to 720 during this respite year. All of those guidances are on that webpage. In addition, there's information about our incentive rates that we were paying vendors to try to recruit and to retain good employees, information about congregate settings, and it even helps families, information about cleaning and disinfecting, on having your environment safe, on how to support somebody who's ill with COVID-19, even help for direct care workers on how to stay safe. There's information about how to transport. It's all part of that same document. So there's a lot of information there.
Thank you. And for parents listening in, we put it in the comments. And Leah, one thing I love too about the DDD's website is it's very, very parent friendly. You know, a lot of these programs and policies are intimidating, but as a parent, I can go on there and navigate it, and I understand, and I can refer to it when I'm talking to my daughter's support coordinators. So families, please, if you're not already on there, go to DDD's website, follow them on social media, participate in the forums you guys are doing regularly, because you'll get the most current information on what's going on and the services to help support our loved ones with disabilities.
Brittany, that means a lot. We have worked really hard to try to make that website a little easier to navigate. We're still working on it, but it's good news to hear it's helping you and your family.
Thank you. It definitely is. So another question we've had from parents is, because this information is just brand new, many, you know, as soon as they heard about it, they talked to their support coordinators, and maybe not everyone was on the same page yet. So as of now, if a family is interested in a remote learning support, have the family support coordinators all been educated on this so they can then proceed with helping us?
Yes, actually, we did take 2 days last week in order to roll that out ahead of time for our support coordinators. And obviously, some people could have been on vacation or they could have been unavailable, but everyone should be aware. If you are experiencing that your support coordinator is saying they don't know anything about it, I encourage you to ask to speak with their supervisor. And if you continue to have any concern, again, you're welcome to contact us at the Customer Service Center.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so another question that has come up. So we know that DDD is providing this option, you know, during learning time. Does the family need to do anything on the school side of things? Does there need to be anything noted in their IEP about this?
There does not.
Okay.
We will, though, ask for the IEP or 504 plan because it helps inform our support coordinator about the types of support this particular student may need during school time. Okay. But we are not expecting the schools to have to augment or change IEPs to indicate this is our remote learning schedule. We're going to build that from their website and from the family's input with us. Okay. However, if there's a concern regarding the school, obviously we would encourage the family to work with the school district and to reach out to Raising Special Kids.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So families, if you have questions with anything regarding what we're talking about today, or with special education, like Leah mentioned, you know, contact our office. We'll be happy to help you. And definitely contact DDD's customer service line. Of course, first going to your child support coordinator, but just know that they're there as a resource to help. Also, we did put our family referral form in the comments, so you can go in and refer yourself right now if you'd like, and our family support team will get back to you and help you with your individual needs. So this is a question I wanted to make sure we address because it's come up a lot.
Sure.
So for students that are not enrolled in public school right now, maybe they chose to their parents chose to homeschool them, or they're taking advantage of the empowerment scholarship, or they're attending private school. Is any remote learning support with DDD available for those students?
Yes, I'm sorry. No, there is not.
Okay.
People who choose to use that empowerment scholarship account opportunity or private school or homeschool are not part of this remote learning assessment process. This is specifically built around students who are in public school that are unable to be in the classroom at this time, and the schools are doing the remote learning opportunities. When,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I wanted to just, when we, in order for the division to even make our services available that we've done a great deal of work collaborating with the Department of Education, the Access Administration. We even reached out to Raising Special Kids to help with us identify the needs of the community out there. And we had to follow the direction that we're able to do and be very sensitive to the use of Medicaid money that is not traditionally used at all for this purpose. So there are some restrictions, including not paying the parent or primary caregiver, and the ESA's private schools and homeschool situations are not eligible. But I want to remind people that we want to document the school day for that individual student, and our support coordinators know that they can assess for medically necessary needs outside of that school time.
Perfect. And I know I had asked you this personally, before we jumped on today. So families, if your child, for instance, utilizes ESA and they're during their learning time, we're not able to use the DD remote learning support, but you can still speak with your child support coordinator about the medically necessary services they need outside of the school day. So it's the same thing, right? We would just need to work with our children's support coordinators and come up with that daily schedule and go through the assessment process.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I wanted to ask one more question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is it possible for the parent pay program to continue after COVID-19? I admit we've been asked this quite a bit.
We do. We get asked a lot, and then we completely understand how it's been so beneficial for so many families across the state. In order for that to occur, that flexibility to even happen, the Access Administration had to write to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and they had to be granted special authority for this to occur. And when they were granted that permission, it was granted time limited. On the Access website, they have a table of all the different flexibilities that they have shared and to the public, and there's a date associated with the parent as a paid caregiver, and the date they post is March the 12th of 2021. However, they've made it very clear to us that depending on what's happening with the emergency and the pandemic, that is a fluid date. It could be moved up sooner to discontinue the service. It could potentially be extended longer than that. None of us really know. But right now, Access has said to us that this was a temporary allowance from CMS. They don't expect it to continue. But at the same time, I would share with families that we know that it's been a wonderful opportunity, and we would encourage you that if you want to share your story, why it's been so important, advocate for it to continue. We've agreed that if you send those to us at our customer service center, we'll collect them up and we will share them with Access. So I'd like to give you our email address for customer service, and it is DDD Customer Service Center at azdes.gov.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that families sometimes they want to share their voice, or they're passionate about change, but they don't know where to go or where to start. Sure. And so we will put that in the comments as well.
Great.
DD's customer service email. And so parents, it sounds like Leah, your office has been hearing this. Request from families. We've been hearing it. in order for our stakeholders to know our feelings on it, we have the opportunity to share our voices. So thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing that and giving parents that opportunity.
We felt it would be easier to have one source, and we'll collect them all in one spot, and we will share them. But please understand that this may not even be within Access's ability to grant. It will be up to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'm looking through, and it looks like you've answered a bunch of the questions that we've gone through. There's a few families on here listening in. Your questions were kind of individual. So call Raising Special Kids. We'll talk you through it. We'll give you the guidance from DDD if you haven't already pulled it up. And just remember, how Leah advised us, communicate with your support coordinators. Share with them your child's school day schedule so that way they can come work together with you on providing the appropriate supports your kiddo needs. And I love this, and I wanted to share it with you, Leah. One of the parents said, I want to thank DDD for stepping in during this time. I'm aware that they don't have to do this. So thank you for all you've done for our kiddos and for us as parents.
You make me choke up. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Very, very, thank you, Brianna, for sharing that. And I know all of us at Raising Special Kids echo that feeling as parents who use these programs as well. And I just want to say thank you for coming on today to our Here for Families Facebook Live and answering questions, being transparent with us and explaining the details so we can understand how it works and how those decisions are made. So thank you so much, Leah. I know you're incredibly busy. I'm sure your phone never stops ringing, and with the forums and all the changes going on, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with our families and provide much needed peace of mind for many parents who need help right now during this time of the pandemic.
Well, thank you. I enjoy getting information out, and I would like to, anytime I can help, let me know.
Thank you so much. And for families listening in, we hope this is giving you some concrete answers. We're thinking of you. We're here for you. If you need individual support or you have additional questions about DDD services right now, please call our office at 602-242-4366. Know we care about you and we're all in this together, and have a wonderful, peaceful weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.